So I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the morning, I have a little bit of a pit in my stomach. I'm nervous to check the news. It's a little bit of a different kind of nervousness. I feel it's shifted a bit. It's that kind of discomfort that doesn't quite go away. And I know that I'm not the only one. I've heard a lot of people say to me, I just can't look at the news anymore, or it's so awful and I don't know what to do. There's so much discomfort, and a lot of that comes from uncertainty surrounded by disinformation, slander, suffering, hunger, images, words, so much. It's hard to know what to do, where to place both our emotions and, of course, our responses. But one thing that I think is clear and has become more clear is that there is real hunger in Gaza. And the question that matters, that I think our tradition demands us, is to ask, how should we respond? What is the Jewish obligation? So we can think about, of course, the ideal of feeding the hungry. That's something that we've been taught since many of us were young children, that is a great mitzvah, to feed the hungry, to care for those in need. But there's more to it than just logistics and tzedakah. We have a sacred obligation, I think, as we're thinking of all these big issues and these difficult ones, to make sure that we hold on to our humanity in that process, to make sure that we uphold what needs to be done, but also that we don't look away because of the discomfort. Because if we allow that to become normalized for us to look away, if we grow numb or indifferent, then I think and I worry we lose a part of ourselves that cannot easily be recovered. And our Jewish tradition that I want to share tonight is teaching from two of our medieval rabbis. They actually rhyme their names. We have Maimonides and Gersonides. I'm sure you've heard of Maimonides, the Rambam. Gersonides is perhaps less known, but a very important Jewish thinker. He also is known by his nickname, the Ralbag. He was a very important, not just rabbi, but philosopher as well. And these two rabbis offer us different ways to think about the ethical obligations in feeding the hungry. So I'll start with Maimonides. So he's very clear and direct in the Mishnah Torah. He says, if someone says, I'm starving, you don't wait. You act immediately. You do whatever you can to feed them and relieve their suffering. Quite clear. If someone says they're starving, you have to believe them. There's hunger on the line. Simple, urgent, non-negotiable. Gersonides takes a little bit of a different path, and he comments on a verse from Proverbs, which says this: if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. So what's the difference between what Maimonides is talking about and the quote that Gersonides is about to discuss? I'm going to put this open to the congregation for a moment. What's the difference?
The enemies just was sufficient.
Yes. Okay. So Gersonides is talking about a quote about your enemy, if your enemy is hungry. Maimonides is just saying if someone's hungry. He doesn't make a distinction about who this person might be. It could be your friend, it could be your relative, it could be a stranger on the street, it could be your enemy, I guess, but it doesn't say specifically. But the verse from Proverbs is talking about your enemy. Someone who hates you, someone who's against you, someone you don't like, however you want to define an enemy, if they say they're hungry, Proverbs says, feed them, give them water. Okay, so this is what Gersonides says. Even if this person has harmed you, even if your heart resists, feed them anyway. Because in doing so, you are not just doing good to them, you are cultivating one of the highest virtues of for your own soul. And in a strange and holy way, that becomes its own kind of justice. So ethics for the Ralbag are not just moral, they are powerful. They are strategic. Not in a cynical way, but in a deeply human one. To act ethically, especially perhaps when it's hard, is to assert your identity in the face of violence. It is to say, I will not become like the one who harmed me, or perhaps I will not become one who is harmed. Our sages understood that there are times when moral clarity is not just about being good and doing what is right and necessary, it is about surviving with your soul intact. If we lose sight of our morality, what is left of who we are? As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow begins the holiday of Tisha B'Av, the most somber day on the Jewish calendar. Tradition has us sit on the floor and read the book of Eicha, or Lamentations. We will cry for the destruction of the temple, for Jerusalem, for every moment in Jewish history when our people were crushed under the weight of violence and exile. And we will read these words from Eicha about our ancestors who were exiled from Jerusalem. They bartered their treasures for food to keep themselves alive. My eyes are spent with tears, my heart is in tumult, because infants and babies faint in the squares of the city. Who will we cry for this year? Whose cries will we hear? What images will come to mind when we read these words? Yes, we know that Hamas hoards food, that they exploit suffering for power. But there is reason for us to do better, to be better. The immoral behavior of our enemies did not release us from our own moral obligations, and I would say in particular to those who are caught in the crossfire. It is exactly in moments like these when things feel murky and impossible that we must hold tight to our ethical foundation. There are people in Gaza, innocent people, who are hungry. And how we respond to that fact will shape not only the future of this conflict, but the future of our souls. May this Tisha B'Av awaken in us deep resolve that we shall never grow numb to the cries of the hungry. Shabbat Shalom.